I used to do some PT sessions with this guy, big bulky guy, and he went, oh, I've just started doing jiu-jitsu. I said, oh, I've done a little bit of submission wrestling. So at the end of the class, we started training. Now, he's probably got 2 or 3 stone on me. I was a lot fitter in them days. But anyway, we were kind of rolling on the ground. Eventually, he did get me on an arm lock, but but in that little 5-minute window, he was struggling to pin me down. It took him 5 minutes, and I had him where I had my forearm right across the side of his face, so it was like dented in, and he's like holding his jaw, and he's like, how much do you weigh? And that's always a brilliant thing for me. When somebody asks me that after a sparring session, it knows I've made a little bit of a mark.
It's like Columbo, you've made it work for you, what you've got.
Family members, it's the case of, sometimes what it is, I choose not to say certain things out of all the things we've learned, right? There's a famous quote I've heard, never argue with an idiot, because people might not know the difference. But unfortunately what some people do, so I'm not saying any particular people now, because this is going out, but sometimes what people do is they mistake my kindness for weakness, and they mistake my silence for weakness. And I can say all sorts of things, but like I said, because I've been through quite a lot, I don't really want to say, even if they're having a go at me, I don't really want to say something, because just by the power of what I can say, I know they'll be really upset, but they call me sensitive, right? And etc, etc. And I just think, do you know what? I don't really want to look back on this situation where they were saying this about me, and I said something,
and you got into
they got upset,
something,
and that's another one in a year later that I might have to go back and apologise for.
Yeah, you've already done all that.
So I thought, if I can hold it in and just, so I've heard, another quote which is, it's better to be the oppressed than the oppressor. So I'm not saying be the doormat. So in psychological terms, a doormat is somebody you walk all over, you impose your will on them, you can bully them. I'm not saying that. Be assertive and all those sorts of things, but it's just my character. Sometimes I just think I can't be bothered, I can't be arsed. So I will say certain things, but it just surprises me all the time as I walk through certain places. People have this initial look about somebody, not just me, but other people, and they misjudge them, they misrepresent them, and actually they're pleasantly surprised later. Especially like I said, I went to a tough gym in Manchester a little while ago. I was working with a guy called Darren from Warrington, and I said, oh Darren, I found this leaflet, do you fancy going after tonight? Darren's a big lad, lots of muscles, bald head, he looks very handy lad. So I showed him this little leaflet, it was all about mixed martial arts and and he must have told a few people in the team that Dad's gonna get battered, because it was like the next day. So I came in with all my kit, it was in the back of the car, and he goes, Dad's getting battered tomorrow. So somebody told me, I went, so you're not coming, Darren? Oh no, but he didn't have the bottle to go, and I was willing to go into a gym full of some professional boxers, some of them doing MMA, some of them just doing it for fitness, and I held me on. The guy who trains all those people, he's trained people to go into the UFC later on, and he's trained people to go into fighting cages and all that. Anyway, so I did my little bits and all this sort of stuff, and he went, your stand-up's good, we can get you doing more on the ground, but your stand-up's good. So each time you turned around, every couple of minutes or whatever it was, you're more or less with somebody who's done some professional boxing, So I managed to, we're not going 100%, it's technique driven, but he can, as a trainer, he can see how you hold yourself, how you manoeuvre, how you're disciplined enough not to whack somebody 100%, because it's a training drill. And that goes for many gyms I've been to over the years, where a lot of time I've gone to gyms just on my own, because the friend circle is like, yeah, let me know, and I get sick of it, because they won't turn up.
No, they'll just talk about it.
Yeah, I've been all the way up and down the country to various different gyms where, you need the bottle to go in, and you need the bottle to stand there, and, you do get injuries, but then that's the whole point, sometimes, that you know what you're letting yourself in for, and you take time to heal. But it's that underestimating people, and I try not to do that if I can. I'm only human, so maybe unconsciously there's always little prejudgments going on, but I try to look at somebody and think, what's the good I can see in this person? And so I think sometimes that's the bit where I don't really say something, because I think, okay, they've said this to me, but they did it.
But you hold back because you know you don't want to engage on that level.
Yeah, they gave me a lift, or they did this, 2 years ago, last year, or 6 months ago, they've been kind to this, that and the other, and I think, at what point do I need to just say something? So every now and again I'll say a little bit, and it just stops the conversation dead. And I can just see the reaction. They don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't like it at all. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to go into any more detail, but the message I've got to your viewers is that it is surprising how bullying still exists for adults outside of work, inside of work, and even up to a point in kind of business as well, of how people feel they can treat us. And you know, yeah.
So I think bringing it all together, it's really been an amazing story to listen to. But I think what's really amazing is not just what you've gone through, but it's the way you choose to be now. So for example, it's knowing you can do things physically or mentally or verbally, and saying in this situation I'm going to hold back, not underestimating other people, being willing to try and see the good, being willing to try and take it to that next level, because you say, I've been there, I've done that, I don't need to try and impress this person or engage in this or do this activity. It's what I'm about now, and like seeing the good and building the good. So I want to thank you, Latif, for that, because
you're welcome.
It's very powerful to listen to somebody willing to be humble enough to share that.
I'm trying.
You do very well.
So what I've got is, where in the month I'm born, I'm a Gemini. So there is the Jekyll and Hyde fella. So there's always that ego that needs to come out or be let out. So if I'm going to speak in front of 100 people, the humbleness has to wait.
Yeah, it's because it's appropriate.
So I need to perform.
In that context.
So I need to dig that little bit of that Latif.
Take it out, do it.
Latif's the
put it back
performer,
away.
he goes out,
Yeah,
because I need to tell myself with my own patterns of, my affirmations, that all those sorts of stuff. So that's not cockiness, that's a preparation technique, which is the stuff that I work with businesses on, which is to do with giving them all the tools they need to do magnificent 1-minute pitches, presentations and public speaking. And this is something me and 2 other success coaches are going to be putting into a highly specialised 3-month success program called Maximising Your Success. It starts with a 1-day intensive on Tuesday the 19th of June, full day with 3 coaches, lots and lots of value. And through that 3-month period, there'll be lots of resources you can tap into, as well as one-to-one. And at the end of the 3 months, there's a half day. It's priced very, very affordable, and the return on the investment is immaculate, and you are getting 3 highly quality coaches.
Because you're one of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to work with the others to do that. We're going to be putting it out on Eventbrite within the next 24 hours of where it is. I'll send you the link. Maybe you can drop it in here if you've got time. But yeah, going back to, so just on this bit, when I'm in meetings sometimes, whether it's one-to-one, especially in group meetings, a lot of times, one of the things I'm trying to develop for myself still, I'm a work in progress, but when I work with other people, is how you become comfortable in your own skin. How you just can be, people talk about contentment. People go into retreats and all those sorts of things. I'm all about that. But it's building the retreat in your own living room. Yeah, building your own retreat as you walk around.
Carrying it with you.
Carrying it with you, because you're very knowledgeable. I admire you, I respect you. So let's just say I was in a room, and some of the aspects of mindset I do. So we're sat somewhere, and imagine there's 3-4 people who maybe from larger organisations, and all we need to do is just talk normally, right? Just talk about the stuff that we do, and it probably will influence, if not all of them, one of them to think, actually, let's have a chat. So there's a business opportunity. But I've got to the point now that I can say my little bit, but it isn't going to be at the expense of putting you down, right? It isn't going to be like, well, whether it's unconsciously or tell them later on, that Michael's just new to all this. I've been doing it a number of years. I'm your man, because I don't really need to do that
anymore.
Because I'm very much about honesty, trust, values, respect.
Because you've seen the opposite and you've experienced it and
Yeah.
you've lived.
I still
the
see
opposite.
people today, other people running organisations, and they say one thing, they try to get you money to book on courses.
And like you just said, you don't need to engage in that in any way. You can just
No.
hold back and say, that's for you right now, that's where you're at. I've been there, it's not for me.
So I'll give you a couple of things before we finish off that's always stayed with me from my dad.
Go on.
Right? Always.
What's the first one?
The first one, he used to love saying this to me. And when he used to say it, I thought, you're a bit of a rapper, aren't you, Dad, or something? And even, it was completely different than the usual, you need to study. It wasn't it wasn't a command.
Okay.
Right? So the first one is about related to values, okay? So if money is lost, nothing is lost. If health is lost, something is lost. If character is lost, everything is lost.
Wow.
Okay, so I used to get that at 7, 9 years of age or something. He just used to drop them in.
And now it's everything to you, that phrase.
Because I understand the importance and the meaning. And I probably realised it, you know, as a kid. I used to take the biscuit because I used to repeat that, oh, Dad does this, watch them. I used to get laughs from it.
Yeah.
But in my teenage years and when I started experiencing things of how...
He's onto something.
I used to think, that's what my dad meant. This person that just ripped me off, or this person that I've not done anything to has gone and done this. You know, at teenage or whatever, right? So the other one is experience is the best teacher. Experience is the best teacher.
Well, that's definitely your life, isn't it?
Right. And then there's another one which I learned on a course by a guy when I was doing my coaching qualifications, but his background was marketing. He does wealth management now. So he was always one for this. Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is not power without action.
Application, yeah.
Application,
Doing.
action. So a little while ago, I've stopped buying any new books. Loads of recommendations. I just stopped buying them because at home now, I think I've got about 15, 16 books that I've picked up relatively cheap. I've not got around to reading them for one reason, is the books I have read before then, I'm still working on every single action from those books.
Yeah.
And sometimes what happens is that you do one action, but there's another step within that action.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really stop, but it doesn't warrant me. I don't feel at this moment in time I want to go to any new books, even though they look great. It doesn't matter how old they are, because the other bit I believe is sometimes they always say is when the student's ready,
Teacher will appear.
the teacher will appear. And same with the book. Sometimes my approach to reading books isn't from going, you know, chapter 1 all the way. I used to do all that. Sometimes I might just flick through a book if I've got a little bit of time with that particular book. So what I might do is use my intuition and guide myself and go, I'll just flick it, and whatever is on page 31, believe it or not, it sounds weird, is actually something I've needed for that day or for that week, or something to help me write some content. So I always do that, and sometimes I've done it where I've had 4 or 5 books out and I've just picked each one. I've just started from the index or the contents, and I looked at a couple of chapters and I thought chapter 3 and chapter 9, and I just read only chapter 3 and only chapter 9 and different chapters in different books, and that's it, put them away.
See, the difference now is if you take a whole journey, it's almost like from starting close like this to being open now to anything. The fact you can sit now and say, I don't need to do this. I'm just open to what's going to happen here with these books or what might happen in my day.
So Bruce Lee, you know, he said, use what you need, drop everything else. That's not to say all the other chapters are no good. It just means for that moment in time, use what you need, drop everything else. And flow like water, he said, which is about the flexibility of how water flows. You know, it can crash and it can flow. If you put it into a vase, it becomes a vase. If you put it into a jug, it becomes a jug. If you put it into a cup, it becomes the cup. So that's about how you fill your space around you. And going back to the meetings, I've been into meetings when there's some, you know, high level people, 15, 20 of them, they all want to get the word in and da-da-da. And I've sat back and said, not a word. Not a word. I just listened to every single thing, and sometimes just by listening attentively or actively listening, you pick up loads of things without having to feel, I need to chip in now, otherwise they think I'm invisible, I'm not even in the room. I'm able to come out with 3 or 4 points that just covers the whole meeting, and I'd be commended on that.
You can see that.
You can see that from far off. And I think that comes with
Perceptive.
Experience sometimes.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, Latif, I want to say thank you so much.
Thank
for
you
coming
very
on the
much
show.
for having me.
Mindset Matters, episode 5 with Latif.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks very much.
It's been a story of redemption. It's been a story of change, and it's been a story. I guess the what I'd say to sum it up is, you think you know Latif, or I think you did know Latif. I think you know him a bit better now, and don't underestimate him.
Don't underestimate. That's Chinese Wing Chun symbol.
All right, guys. Thank you
See you
very much.
later.
See you later.
See you later.